Senator Rounds from South Dakota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I was going to start out today visiting a little bit about farmers and ranchers, but I understand that Senator Tester beat me to it. And I think the fact that we really do have a concern about the ambiguities that some of our farmers and ranchers have right now with what they're going to be expected to try to share with providers of products to them with regard to downstream environmental impacts really is of concern. And the ambiguity at which it's been left with what can be guesstimates and so forth is something that I really think you need to take a second look at.
Senator, I concur with you as we talked in the ante room earlier. We thought the proposal had the right balance because we said it's only an estimate. It's only public companies. It's only if it's material or they made a commitment to it and they have a big safe harbor. But we heard a lot from the farm bureaus, and so we're that's what we do. We take a look of all the public comments and see how we can ensure that it doesn't touch those private actors.
And that's precisely what I really wanted to talk about it's one thing with the rules. It's another thing when there is an expectation that once the rules have been established, if they're really ambiguous, then that means that each time they have to come back to a regulator to ask whether or not what they're doing is accurate or not. And I think that causes some serious concerns for people that want to invest. So I just simply say, look, I mean, if you're making rules on these, and clearly you are making rules, a lot of them, let's be as precise as we can in them, and I think that'll eliminate a lot of the questions that are coming up, sir. Let me go into just a couple of items very quickly here. At a speech that you delivered last week, you quoted Joseph Kennedy saying, "No honest business should fear the SEC." You went on to say that given the nature of crypto investments, I recognize that it may be appropriate to be flexible in applying existing disclosure requirements. Matt Levine openly questioned that sentiment on a column for Bloomberg, stating the SEC has been suing crypto projects for illegally issuing securities for about 5 years now, but put in that time it has not issued any rules or proposed any rules or put anything on its rulemaking agenda about adapting the securities and disclosure rules for crypto projects. I echo Mr. Levine's comments. It seems to me that you want to regulate an entire marketplace, but clearly it doesn't appear that you've got rules in place to do so at this time. In my mind, this is simply unacceptable. And I know that your background in the private sector you've got a great history in the private sector, so this is kind of confusing to us. I've heard from a variety of companies who claim they try to work with you and with your organization, but then you turn around and then you've hit them with some pretty heavy enforcement actions or slow walk the process. Mr. Chairman, you keep telling crypto entrepreneurs and the companies to come in and to register. Has anyone actually tried to do that?
To answer your question, there's 6 companies that are actually registered under the disclosure regimes. I would say this, not liking the answer from the SEC doesn't mean there isn't guidance, just with all fairness. And most of these tokens, a vast majority, are securities, and thus the intermediaries are likely to be in non-compliance with securities laws right now. So we're really trying to work with them. We're talking to a wide swath of these organizations right now to get them properly registered, to get them inside the remit. And this is what we do. With all respect to Mr. Levine, we've been pretty clear. My predecessor, Chair Clayton, was through commission actions and in his public voice in front of this committee and others about this matter. And we're going to continue to protect the public as best we can.
Thank you. As of August 2022, the SEC had proposed 32 new rules in just 11 months and is preparing at least another 19 for release in the next year. These are complex rulemakings that will greatly impact markets and capital formation. In addition to that, these rules are being implemented in an overlapping timeline and affect the same or interconnected financial products and market sectors. However, despite the linkages between the various proposals, the SEC has assessed the economic impact of each rule independently and in isolation from the others. Implementing these proposals simultaneously without consideration of the cumulative and cross-sector effects will most certainly lead to unintended consequences. Mr. Chairman, why has the SEC not considered the cumulative and the cross-sector effects when simultaneously implementing these proposals that most certainly could lead to negative and unintended consequences for our capital markets and broader economy?
Senator, we actually do consider cross, even within any one of the 30, it's actually as of yesterday, 34 to bring you up to date.
Moving along.
Moving along. I would note that Chair Clayton, during his 4 years, did a little over 60 final rules. We have about 50 on our docket. And Chair Shapiro and Chair White were about the same 40 to 60 range during their 4 years. We might have been a little sooner getting them out to proposals. But we do consider those cross issues. And sometimes we even reopen proposals for that reason, like we did with stock lending and stock buyback. And we reopened because there was this cross consideration. We've done it in some other areas. We're even looking now whether we should do that in some areas and reopen some for that cross consideration. But lastly, I would say we get comment letters after the comment period as well. And we this is over the years, and we do it now. Staff reads them, they put them in. It tends to take us months, sometimes a year to 18 months to finalize a rule after it's proposed.
Thank you. I wish we could continue the conversation, but my time has
I think you still
expired.
have my cell phone number, so you can call me anytime, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Rounds.